if I could just plant that seed of like, you matter and you're important, and what your heart says and how it speaks to you is everything. It's everything with how you're going to go through your life.
Welcome to Tapping In. I'm your host, Marisa Grieco, and today's guest is Emily Sellis. She is the founder of Holistic Wellness Center. Now, what's cool about this space is she mixes psychotherapy and energy medicine together. How cool is that, you guys? Welcome, Emily. Thank you so much for being here.
It's so nice to be here. Thanks for having me, Marisa.
Of course. So I am so curious, how did you transition from just doing psychotherapy and bringing in energy medicine?
Yeah, no, it was a really interesting story. And without going too far back, I mean, bringing in energy medicine, I feel like I kind of went away from anything related to spirituality or religion-esque because of some earlier experiences. So I was actually in my graduate school program when I was given an assignment to go and talk to someone who is doing something that you think is really inspiring. So I found who is my Reiki master now. And she was a therapist and was also at the college, like on a tenure track as a professor. But then she had this other side of her that was into spirituality and kind of bringing in the woo-woo. And so I went and I met with her. And this is where I started thinking, how can we incorporate all of this? Because it's not just about the mind. I mean, I'm in my training and learning all of the things, but there's so much more. So that was really what kind of spurred me on the path of becoming a Reiki master myself, and then the process of starting to integrate and incorporate that in a field that is not very open to it, shall I say. Yes. So it's been an interesting journey, and I'm still on the path. So
that's amazing. And then what was the changes you started seeing in your clients? Right? Instead of just talking to them, like, do you have them lay down on the table and you do a Reiki session? Like, how do you mix the two in an actual session?
Yeah. So there's, as a psychotherapist, there's actually a lot of red tape. There's a lot of legalities and ethics and these kinds of things that I have to adhere to in order to keep my license. And so it really kind of varies without getting into all the details of it. But when I am able to operate in that space, when I do have like the consent of the client, they're interested in these kinds of things, it'll be really what the client wants to do. So I have one client right now, we spend the first 5 minutes of every therapy session. She sits in the chair. I do a little chair Reiki for her. It helps her get grounded. It helps her really connect to her heart space and like what she wants to work on during our session. So it's very simple. I've had other clients where we come in and we do half of a session on the table and then half of a session processing and really kind of getting into the depth of that. So there's so many different ways to do it, but those are some ways that I've integrated that.
That's fantastic. And it probably speeds up the whole healing process.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Right? Yes. And well, the thing is, I'm very connected in the community. So other therapists know that I'm a Reiki practitioner. So perhaps someone is already working with a therapist and then they'll refer to me. And I'm sure this has happened with you before too. It totally speeds up that healing process and creates this space for people to really sit into their own healing and reflect on that. Because it's really about connecting them with themselves, right? Like making sure that they're the ones that are going to be able to go to that inner wisdom and be able to get the answers for themselves eventually.
Absolutely. Because I think sometimes when you're talking about your problems all the time, you're more identified with them. Like, oh, this is who I am. And all the emotions that come up, you're like, oh, this is who I am. Again, I'm depressed, or I'm always angry, and we get so critical of ourselves. And what I love about you incorporating the energy work is we kind of sneak around the mental, and you remind people that you are energy and light first, so that it's easier for you to peel away those old programs where you're just like, wait, this is just a veil. I don't even believe this story anymore. And it's so much easier for us just to peel it away, release it, come back to center.
Yeah. And I do think like with my training in energy medicine combined with the training as a therapist, I mean, I think therapists are naturally kind of intuitive, but as an energy medicine practitioner, I'm actually kind of thinking for things differently or hearing things or, guiding a client differently than I would if I was only classically trained. And it's one of those processes that, you're kind of doing, but you don't know that you're doing it. Yeah. And then it just helps you kind of help the client see some things or be able to recognize, some of those stuck points. Whereas if I was only going at it from the mind perspective, I'm going to be looking at it totally differently. So
cool. Now, in your day-to-day life, how do you use energy medicine to help you recenter? What are some tips or techniques that you use?
Oh my gosh. Well, with Reiki, you're trained, you're a Reiki master, right? So some of the things, I always clear my room. That's a big one. Just the energy of the room. We have people coming in, and I'm not the only one that uses my office. We have a group practice, so other people are in there. And so I'm able to clear the energy of the space. That is just like cleansing 101. So I'm using the Reiki technique. It's a set of symbols, and it's an intention that I set that I teach in my Reiki level 2 classes. But it's using those symbols and kind of like marking the corners of the room and being able to kind of just clear that energetic space. And that is like getting a wash down, right? So that's a really helpful thing. I also do that for myself using that technique, Reiki Undo, and I just use that really brief technique to clear my own energy because, of course, as healers, like we've got to get ourselves out of the way. I've got to be as clear of a channel as I can be to just allow that space for my client to come in and really take up all the space. So those are some like day-to-day ways that I utilize it. Of course, I'm a mom. I use it with my kids all the time. I use it to clear traffic. I use it to do self-healing. If I'm working with someone that's not a therapy client, I'm doing that just as a Reiki treatment. It's just part of everyday life.
It's so good. Can you share the symbols with our audience? Like just take a pause and just give us a demonstration of what that looks like.
Yeah. So if I was like going to clear this space, I'm going to set an intention to clear this space. And then I'm going to draw towards the earth or towards the ground, a choku rei, which is one of the main symbols of turning the power on. And then there's a symbol called Seihei Ki, and that's another set of hand movements. I would draw that 3 times, and then I'm going to go into 4 corners of the room and draw that same symbol 3 times in each corner. And then I add a little whooshing in there of like kind of pillars up. I'm very visual. I'm very clairvoyant. And so the visual of going up into an apex, bringing all the white light, and then having it go down into I know there's a name for that shape. I don't know what it is, where it's like a cube and then like an apex and down to the bottom. And it clears it all. It's like a drain that you just kind of like release all of that energy. So it really only takes a few minutes and it makes a big difference.
You're so right. It makes such a huge difference. What's kind of cool is sometimes I will do it when I'm laying in bed.
Yeah.
And even when my husband's next to me. And what's interesting is as I start to clear the room, and I'll also clear his energy. And I won't say anything out loud. I won't even do the hand gestures. But as soon as I say clear his energy, he will start to twitch. It has happened more than once where I can no longer say like, is this a coincidence or what the fuck?
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I am always genuinely like surprised. Like surprised isn't the right word, but it's almost like, oh my gosh. Like, and then I think what was on him or energetically, like we don't realize we are so much more.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Right. So, and then they wake up so much more clear and they feel more grounded.
Yeah.
So
I love that awe that you have about that still and that wonder, because I think that's what we need to stay present with it. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I'm always in the awe. Like sometimes I feel like, come on, girl. Like it's happened so many times now, but genuinely, I'm always like, way, like this is so cool. Yeah, because you see the shift almost immediately. And I always think to myself, why are we not teaching this all the time? Like for our kids to clear their energy field, for them to clear their room, for them to remove other people's energy. Like all of this stuff is so important.
Yeah.
And we don't give it the attention.
Yeah.
Right? Like we blame it so much in our heads. Right? Like these are my thoughts. These are my feelings. And we don't realize, no, they're not always your thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
Constantly be cleaning and clearing.
Especially when we're sponges, we walk through our life and we do. I mean, it could be someone at the coffee shop that you just like walked by and it kind of hitches a ride because, you know, the light you're just walking through is this beam of light and things are going to hitch a ride. So yeah, it is. It's something I wish that we taught in schools, you know, from early ages. I mean, my kids have, you know, their own little take on it and ask me for, you know, Reiki healing or energy work or can you clear the room? I'm scared, Mom, or whatever it is. And it's really nice that they have that. It's like an extra tool for them.
Yeah. That's our next book, right? It's all the little rituals for our kids. I used to have mine put the little bubble around them, like when they'd go to school. You know, it's like, what color do you want that to be? And then can you stretch it out so that you can walk in your energy and you're not necessarily picking up, right? And then also teaching meditation or resetting, right? Because you have to know what you feel like first before... Like, what is somebody else's energy? What is that? When I remember for myself, I had no idea. I was just like, everybody's energy was in my space, that I had no idea who I was. Right. And it's only through this work where you're calming yourself and recentering. That's why meditation, I think, is so important. Like, my gosh, if I don't know who I am, let's just say with the voice, at least can I start to get familiar with my frequency? So that I know when I have to clear it. It's
a subtle thing to pay attention to. And I think it's something that is very lost on our society with how busy and exciting and fun and bright and shiny everything is. And it's like just that very simple stillness, you know, is so, so important.
Yeah, that's so good. If you were to plant one seed of wisdom in every heart on this planet today, what would that be?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question. I think what we were just talking about is that inner wisdom. I think so many of us and people are always like, how do I fix myself? How do I learn this or do that? And we forget to go within. So really getting still and spending that time with yourself. And if you're having a hard time doing that, you're having a hard time getting quiet, then talk to someone who can do that with you, maybe body doubling, and just start somewhere with being able to really tune in and starting to cultivate that. Because I don't think everyone has that belief. You know, I don't think that everyone has that self-essence or that self-worth of knowing that they matter and that what they think and how they feel is important. And there's so much externalization. So really, if I could just plant that seed of like, you matter and you're important and what your heart says and how it speaks to you is everything. It's everything with how you're going to go through your life.
That's a good seed. I will keep that seed. I'm going to plant that seed and make it grow. Now, is there one thing, one topic or that you find keeps repeating with your clients, right? Like a pattern where you're just like, oh, this is so interesting right now. This pattern keeps repeating itself.
Yeah. And which is always leads back to, what do I need to learn? Yes. Right? The big mirror. Yes. And it is over responsibility. That is a huge pattern with so many of my clients right now. And it's really about me needing to not take on so much. And that's what I'm helping my clients with. It's always so interesting to have that mirror. So, you know, always being the one that everyone goes to, always being the one that's holding everyone up and carrying everything forward and bringing everyone together and doing all of that work. It's learning how to step back. I even have one client whose goal is to be more selfish. That's literally like the treatment goal. Yes. And that's really what it is of like, where do other people end and where do I begin? And why am I taking on all of this extra? Why?
Why? I love that. One thing that you said that I think is super important is the mirroring. Because I find the same thing. Like my clients will come in with a situation, a problem, and I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. And as we are treating them, it's like that third dimensional part of me is also listening in a chair. Like, we got to do this too. Because that higher self, it's almost easier for us to channel the information for those around us. So it's important to see who am I attracting in my life.
Oh, so much.
Right? And we keep blaming them, right? And pushing on them. Like, we get angry because we see ourselves in them, right? Like, well, just don't be so responsible.
Just do this.
Just take a break already. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, are you listening? Are you listening? And you're like,
oh, it's so true. And it's really why I love what I do, because I am so dedicated to progression and like moving forward and growth, and always the spiritual seeker. So it's something that never stops. I of course I have my blind spots, right? And I need my own guidance and my own people to help me. But like that never stops. Like, we're going to continue to have that reflected back to us.
Yeah, I always have to remind myself that you are eternal. I'm like, you're eternal.
Yeah.
You're not going to get it done.
Yeah.
Right? I think Abraham Hicks says it all the time, right?
Yes.
Which I love. So I'm always like, you're never going to get it done. You're eternal. It's okay. And if you can get comfortable in learning, in the transition,
right,
that's the key, right? To stop being mad at yourself, like, why am I still doing this? Or why am I still attracting this? When we finally take that neutral approach where we can look at it as, okay, I love myself. I'm learning, I'm growing. And this is part of why we came here, right? If we can remember that we came here to learn through the contrast and not to be perfect.
Yeah, and not to get there, right? It always feels like, okay, I'm going to get there, and then
I know,
it's like, what about right now? Yeah. My kids are running around screaming and pissing me off, and I'm like,
I'm not dealing with
am I having fun? Are we having fun?
Yeah.
Okay, how can I have more fun?
That's where I feel guilty, where I'm like, I'm going to work on a course on how to be more present and more grounded. Meanwhile, my kids are like, hey, what do you want to make for dinner tonight? Or where do you want to go? And I'm like, don't you see that I'm working, that I'm busy. I'm trying to download big pieces of information. And they're like, be present. And I'm like, hold off. I'm working. And that's, again, the medicine where I'm like, stop being so responsible. Stop trying. Stop pushing. Stop proving. And start to live all the information that we've gathered.
Yeah, it makes me think right now as we're talking about Mary Poppins and how the dad was always the workaholic and he was so mean and serious all the time. And I'm like, that's my lesson. Yeah. It's like, well, you need to do this and you need to clean your rooms and we need to get the grocery. I mean, there's so many things to do. And that's just family stuff. And then the whole business and all the people that I'm responsible for and all of those things. And I have valid reasons.
Yes.
But am I enjoying it? Am I in joy, like in the day-to-day?
Well, you forget. And I forget, too, that I asked for all of this, right? I have to remind myself, too, like when you have to go to work, I'm like, stop saying you have to. Because remember, maybe a year ago, this was your wish. Like, I want to have my own center. I want to have a place where I'm filming. Yeah. I want to sit with high-frequency people and have great conversations. Yeah. So remind yourself that it's not that have to, should, that's again, lower third dimensional, like, I need to do this. Like, and then again, it's okay for us to adjust when we are giving so much attention to either our kids and then our business is like, everything's falling apart. And then again, reminding myself the whole, okay, I don't even want to say goal because again, that's putting pressure on it, but just be present. And just allow yourself to be in love and stop feeling like you have to prove yourself all the time. Let me show you. I'm like, who are you showing? Nobody gives a crap, right? Everybody's just trying to stand up themselves. And unless you're looking at somebody for inspiration, don't look at them, right? If it's going to hurt you or it's going to make you feel bad and it's your critic, tell your critic to get out of here because it's not helping you. It's just like doing all of this work, seeing our clients, having this incredible center that you have where, you know what I mean, you help so many people. It's just like, that's the thing that I'm constantly reminded. Like, and seeing people transform and be in their light, like, again, that just lights me up. I'm just like, you're back.
Everything.
Like, it was like they were lost in the cosmos somewhere where they were, they were splattered and something broke them. And it's like a magnet. All of a sudden they come together and you see them become bright. My heart is just like, that's why, as light workers, we're all here. And I believe we're all light workers. And if, like, you get the best advice, right? Well, maybe not the best advice, but, you know, with the people around us, when their intention is to have us back into that flow. And
There is just nothing like it. It is quite the purpose and the passion for sure.
I love when I get the downloads too, celebrating other people. And it reminds me that when you think of us all connected and reflections of each other, like when I celebrate the success of a friend and I can feel that swoosh of a download, right? I'm like, oh, it's so great because it's so easy for us to sit in someone else's pain. Like, oh, I feel bad for them. Do you know what happened to them? Oh man, it's so sad. Like, oh, this is really broken up. But we're not taught to like sit in their joy, sit in their success. Right?
Yeah, that can definitely be the focus is like, what's the problem and how are we fixing it? And that just gets really dark when you get a big bandwidth for doing that too.
Yes.
And so that's where the process comes in. This is where I love integrating Reiki is that we have these tools and these ways to really like cleanse ourselves, you know, to be able to do that energy cleansing because it is dark and heavy and not everyone knows how to put that aside and celebrate the successes and celebrate the good. And it's just as important, if not more, because that's the vibration we're trying to get to.
Right. But what's interesting is our body is so addicted to it, right? Like I catch myself too when it's familiar, where I'm like, so hard. Like, life is hard, right? But I catch that addiction or me wanting to fall back, right? I feel like, oh, I'm getting uncomfortable. Things are getting really good and trying to get comfortable in that, I don't know what's going to happen next. And it's so good. Like the energy is so good. Can I just sit in this before my critic comes in and is like, that's enough. Right? Like simmer down in that happiness.
You got really
know
high
your
there.
space. Know your emotional set point.
Get back in line.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it's and that's the work where we practice. Can I allow myself to be more present? Can I allow myself to be happier? Can I allow myself to feel more love without making it about anybody else? Right? That know that it's just a frequency that we hold. So.
That's like that's that over giving or that over responsibility. It's the how are we receiving? And I see that as like the heart chakra issue, right? It's like we're great at giving and being compassionate. And even us as healers, like we have really big muscles around that, like really good at that, sitting in all the things.
I will give all day.
But how good are we at receiving and knowing where that other, person ends and where I begin and where I have needs and I get to have needs and I get to ask for those needs to be met too. It's tough. It can be something that we fall into, but it's that new vibration of balance in those areas. So it's really important stuff.
So for me, little tips on the receiving, and I'm sure you have some which I want to hear, but I'll just give you a couple, is just practicing like, I'm going to get myself a glass of water and I'm thirsty and I'm receiving, it's going to quench my thirst. Like it doesn't have to be huge where we're expecting to receive love from another person. I like to take it away from other people, but it's more just like, can I allow myself to receive a deeper breath? Can I allow myself to receive, okay, this one I can't, like 5 minutes in bed, right? I got this one down. But is there any areas where you find yourself maybe a little stuck in the receiving where
Me personally, oh, well, I think it's my excuse. I guess I'll say I blame my children. Right? So I'll use them as a reason of why I'm not taking that downtime or getting that 5 minutes in bed, right? Well, I can't. Starting at 5 o'clock this morning even, it's like I'm up and then the little one wakes up and I'm like, I got up to have some quiet time and now you're awake. And then
I was trying to receive.
I know, right? So I get stuck in that like, I'm trying so hard to receive, but then, okay, where can I do it? It's like, well, on my drive in this morning here, I just kind of chilled and, listened to a really cool thing that you had done and just like listened in and tuned in with myself. I mean, while I was getting ready, I took a few minutes to listen to some songs that I really love. I mean, so I'm working on getting better at finding the small moments because I think it's this thing we do where, oh, I want a whole weekend.
Yeah.
I need to have like all this time and then I'll be quenched. Then my thirst will be quenched, right? But it's the small things that add up. And these are the things I tell my clients, but how am I living them? And that's something, you know, okay, I'm going to take the dog for a walk, even though I have to, right? Yes. But I'm going to enjoy it.
And
I'm
going to,
and not the phone. Yeah, exactly. Like put the phone away, not listening to a podcast, not doing anything, but just listening to the birds, you know, and just really being present. So it's those little things that I think is the game changer and really all the control I have right now. Like I don't have big periods of time to do the things that I would love to, how I would love to receive, but I can do the little things.
What's beautiful is you're a perfect example of a successful woman. And we have those pressures, I think, again, nowadays, where it's just like you're running your own company. You have an incredible relationship with your husband. Mm-hmm. You have a beautiful relationship with your kids. You do all the extras on the weekends. Yeah. So it's just like, how do you enjoy all of that, what you're doing in the small moments so that it doesn't feel like you're constantly...
Yeah. Well, and I think that the answer is like, you don't too, right? I think that ideology that you can get to this place where you're enjoying all the moments and mindful all the time is also, you know, sets us up for feeling like we're not hitting the mark.
Yes.
So yeah, I falter. I don't get it right. I get into my own little depressive funks and my anxious moments and all of this, but I think what I am dedicated to is myself, and I'm dedicated to remembering and all the things that I do teach my clients and that I ask them to do. I have to do the same work. It doesn't stop. You know, I love the upward spiral kind of visual of like, oh, I'm doing the same damn thing again. Sure. But you know what? I'm at a little bit higher ground here because I have learned my lessons as I've gone through it, and we're just human, you know?
Yeah, we're all in this fun little suit. I'm like, this little vehicle, it's got its limitations. Yeah. That's why I love playing with the dimensions, which I'm sure you've heard in a lot of my episodes, because I think of it as this pillar of light. Yeah. And we're constantly traveling up and down this pillar of light where when you are with your clients, we could be in that fifth dimensional space of unconditional love, pulling down wisdom for them. Yeah. And you could see them in the 3D, and you could see yourself in the 3D, right? And then naturally, we also go into 3D. That's why, you know, I can't do my own readings or, right? Because I'm also here to learn, right? I didn't just come here to live in the 5D.
Right. Well, we're here. Yeah. Figuring that out. Like, why did I come here again?
Yeah.
Like, what?
I don't need no lessons.
I'm better up here. So, there is lessons. That's why
and understanding that there's that separation sometimes, and that's okay. And catching, like, what dimension do you mostly live in? Because when I'm in those higher dimensions, it's just like I know everything and I know nothing at the same time. It's like all the information is all around me.
And you're okay with that.
And I'm okay with that. And then I'll be in a 3D and I'm literally like, how do I do this? Like, I don't want to say the R word, but literally I feel like, I'm like, what happened to that
What's
wisdom?
The R word?
I was like, had a wand in my hand and I was like, I don't know, He-Man. I don't know why He-Man, but it's just like, I know everything. I have the power. And it's like, it feels so good and I'm falling. And then it's like, I go back in the third dimension and it's like, you know, Chicken
you feel
Little.
Like a toddler, you know? Yeah, you feel like a little kid all over again.
So getting comfortable with knowing that that's what we're doing. Yeah. And then you're bringing that high knowledge back into third dimension. And then how do you surrender? Can I surrender knowing that there's something bigger, right? That the bigger part of me is in the other side. The bigger part of me is helping me. Yeah. And I'm using it in my day-to-day. And of course, you're going to forget because that's why we came here to do the lessons. So being okay with not labeling yourself, not putting so much judgment on yourself, and knowing that you came here to expand through the learning. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I think that's with Abraham Hicks, going back to them, like it's step 5, right? Is like, you're right back at the beginning. You're right back at the beginning after you've done all of this. And how okay are you with just repeating that? I'm obsessed with like cycles and like the natural rhythms of thing. And it's like, there's the circle, there's no beginning, no end. And it's, of course, that's what we have to do, right? Yeah. We're right back in the fall or the winter.
I know, you're like, I think that's sometimes the lesson with our kids, right? Because I'll see sometimes it's like with my kids where I want to help them, but I could see that they're in the same spiral as me. And at times I'm like, I don't know how to help you. Like, I don't know how to organize, or I don't know how to it's probably the ADD too, but it's just like we're both stuck. And I just feel angry and frustrated because I don't like the mirror, right? That I'm like, we're still here. Right. And at the same time, I'm trying to be nice to myself.
Yeah.
But then my newest thing is, how do I just hold space and give them love and encouragement? I'm like, just be the higher self, like, as opposed to another judgment. What's a trick that you use to show your boundary? Like, I know I have one, but what's your trick in order for you to know where your energy ends and someone else's begins? Do you have something?
Something that I learned, I think, with Reiki was just like when I am noticing, because I am very aware of like energies and aware of like when I feel encroached upon by someone else's energy. I've gotten better at that practice. I think that was something that I had to kind of just learn by feeling into. But just a simple, like, if this is not mine, take it away. Like asking my guides that, asking for some help just immediately to do that. I think also like being able to just really get still and reflect on what I'm wanting and then be able to say no. I mean, such a simple thing like that, but that like, just there's certain people, and I think this might be something that comes with age, that I'm just not willing to spend my time in places where I don't feel good. And when I'm not feeling good, it's not even necessarily because of me. It's what I'm doing to my own energy so that I can be here for their energy. And it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. So a lot of saying no and just having more firm boundaries around my time and who I'm giving to. So those are some tips I think that I utilize.
That's good ones. Those are really good, because I know that feeling too when automatically you're like, do I want to do this? And your inner kid is like, no,
we don't want to.
It doesn't feel good. And you're right. I'm like, you work so hard at keeping your energy up so you can see it automatically, right? You're like, is this draining me?
Yeah.
And to go do this. And then also when you have that inner voice of, I don't know, about hurting somebody else's feelings. At the same time, I'm like, do you like hanging out with this person? Because obviously if I feel drained, then it's okay for me to say no and get comfortable with.
Yeah, I think that's something I teach clients a lot too, is like for them to like really think about how they're feeling when they're with people. And if that's something that they can say no to. It's tough when there's relationships where you're not going to say no to. Let's say it's a family dynamic or a family connection, and you're like, I'm not going to cut this person out of my life. But there's ways that you can really kind of create some boundaries and some different ways of interacting with them that will help you to kind of claim your own dignity.
How do you do that?
Like if someone was, let's say it was even a phone call with a mom, and let's say the mom is being like really negative and just like critical and just saying all these things. Well, it would be kind of a stating of an explanation. Mom, if you're not going to be able to stop criticizing me, I am going to need to get off of this phone call. Right. So you're letting them know, instead of, if we don't do this, we just get angry and then hang up on mom. Right.
I will never do
and now who's doing what? So it's stating that boundary, mom, if we aren't going to be able to have a conversation where we're not talking about this, I am going to need to hang up. Oh, okay. Like people are usually really mad about boundaries. Right. So now you have to deal with what it feels like to have someone mad at you. And these are things, again, that we talk through and work on in like a therapy session. But then it's implementing that boundary and saying, Mom, I've asked you not to continue being critical of me, and I'm going to get off the phone now. And even if they're yelling at you the whole time while you're hanging up, well, you hang up, right? You've got to continue with the boundary. I think the reason why people really struggle with this is because of the fear of uncertainty. So what happens if I remove my love, or what it feels like as my love? And if you state the boundary and then that person doesn't show up, then is that really in alignment for you? And being okay with you stepping into that, what we were talking about before, that new vibration, and being able to say, I'm going to hold space for the people who I can be in community with.
Yeah, I think that's so important, everything that you said. Like maybe even having some lines that you have written out just to kind of help you, like, if somebody says this to me, I can respond this way. So you can have a language that you can check in with that makes you feel empowered, right?
Yeah, we'll do a lot of role plays in therapy work when I'm trying to help someone with those boundaries. And again, this is all about that receiving. It doesn't sound like it. It feels like I'm putting this big boundary up, but you want to receive the connection and the good feelings towards, the goodwill towards other people that you're spending your time and energy with. And this is how we do it. That was that saying, good fences make great neighbors. It's like we get to have, we can still be neighbors, but we still get to have this limit of how I'm going to be allowing myself to be spoken to. And sometimes these habits are very long-standing, and it's been happening since they were children. So you can imagine how hard that can be. So role-playing is great for that. And then, just kind of playing it out in session of like, what would that be like? And I can play devil's advocate and be the mom and have them practice saying it, out loud. So it's important stuff. It sounds almost simple, but this relational boundary work is like, I love it, the center of so much of the work that we do in therapy. And it's tough for people who are naturally intuitive and empathic as well, because not only are we talking about in the 3D, we're also energetically, we don't want their energy kind of coming onto us and really overtaking us. And so that's where it's helpful to have something like Reiki or like a boundary or the bubble that you were talking about, and like kind of these different energetic tools.
It's so good. One thing I practice with my clients is voice dialogue. So we step into different personalities that they hold. Cool. And again, it's the same thing, because most of the time you're unaware that you step in and out of different personalities because it happens so automatic. But when you can pause and say you sit in the critic, right? Just as an example, and you feel the power in it. And when you realize that even the critic is trying to help you, right? It's just doing it in the sense like, I'm going to criticize you before anybody else does. I'll let you know before anybody else tells you, right?
Right. Keep you safe.
I'll keep you safe. Exactly. But as you create an aware ego and you have a little bit of separation, now when these different parts step in, you can raise their energy and lower their energy, and you're less identified with them. And then you see them in other people, right? It's not so personal. You're like, oh, I just saw them step into their controller, their critic. And it has nothing to do with me. So you start to become aware how much things aren't personal and how automatic everybody is and how it's okay for you to be like, it's okay for me to be sitting in my own space and feel good. Because then I'm better, right? What you're putting out is also a high frequency of love. And you also have the freedom, like, I don't need anything from you, right? Because I'm contained. So you attract relationships with people that just want to be with you. Right? They're not feeding off you. They don't need for you to give them anything. So you're also breaking those old programs of like, well, if I need to have friends, then I need to be a battery for everybody around me. I need to fix everybody because that's what I was told was my role. Right. And you're like, those are some of the programs that you start to release where it's like, no. Right. Like, I don't have to do that anymore. I can't just be me and see things with clear eyes and have a boundary. So
I love this stuff.
I know. We're like, I definitely have to have you on the show again because we could talk for hours. I know.
I feel like we could. This is so fun. Thank you for having me.
Oh, this was so amazing. If you guys want to know more about Emily, we are going to post it all afterwards. She's incredible. Again, she's got this wellness center, which is called Sage Wellness, and it's in Tustin, right?
Tustin, Santa Ana,
Tustin, Santa Ana. Thank you so much, Emily, for being here with us today.
You're welcome. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, it was so much great information.
It's fun.
Until next time, guys, keep tapping in.
If you want more, please join our community at marisagrieko.com.